Okay guys, so we're moving on to the second part of the introduction to sketching. This talks about isometric and orthographic view drawings. Okay, so these are the two types of sketches that we use. Isometric, if you remember from the first video, is three-dimensional, and orthographic is two-dimensional from multiple views. So the essential questions for this unit are going to be, why do we need two methods? So why do we need isometric and orthographic? Which sides will be used in orthographic sketches? So of the 6 possible sides, we're only going to use 3 we talked about earlier. So how do we choose which 3? And lastly, how do I choose what's the front of my figure? When I grab a random thing, how do I know what the front is to be able to begin sketching? So we're going to start off with isometric view sketching. This is an isometric sketch that has been drawn on a graph paper, which is really an orthographic piece of paper. First of all, every time we draw sketches, we're going to always show the front, right side, and the top. Okay, this is the width and the depth as well as the height. It shows all 3. This is the standard. Okay, as you can notice as well, we have the horizontal axis down there. The width and the depth must be drawn at a 30-degree angle with the horizon line. As you can see, what we're talking about here is we're talking about this 30-degree angle, and this is also 30-degree angle. So the question is, how do I get that right? I'm going to have to get out a an angle measuring tool every single time that I do this. That doesn't make sense. That's not realistic. So the way I'm going to solve that problem is I'm going to use what we call isometric paper. Isometric paper has lines on it that are already at 30-degree angles. And that really makes it simple for us to draw things in 3 dimensions. So as you can see here, one of the strategies that we use is you could see this line here. Okay, those are both automatically at 30 degrees. When I draw shapes, what I do is I start at the bottom and then I work my way up, making sure all the lengths are the same. And then connecting it. And you can see, create the same cube as before, just in this way. I want you to go ahead and pause the video and on your isometric paper, copy over the cube from the orthographic graph paper. Hit play when you're ready. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk through the steps of how to make this shape. So our goal is to create this figure on the isometric paper, and we will be practicing these things in class until you're really good at it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of methods that are recommended as ways to do this. So in this method, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my left line right here. Okay, and I'm not using a ruler, so it's not going to be absolutely perfect. As you can see, I pretty much drew that line right there, and I'm going to do about the same thing on the other side. You can count diagonal squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. Okay, and that gives you an idea of how I'm doing that there. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way up. This is the same. This left side here is the same distance, so it looks to be about the same distance as the bottom one. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the other side as well. Okay, so now what I've done is I've created that base. This right here looks only about 3 up. So now I'm drawing the middle piece that is right there. So as you can see, I've drawn all these pieces now so far. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to start right, and I want to just basically create this top right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a diamond shape, and that's that piece that you're seeing right there. From there, I go up a couple lines on each one, and now I'm creating this piece that you're seeing right here, here, and here. Connecting those, as you can see, I've now gotten that shape, and I can go across each way and do those other parts as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and focus on these lines right here and right here, which look to me to be about 3 lines up. Okay, And now I can complete my figure by making the diamond down, 3 lines straight up, and completing my figure. So it does look a little stretched out compared to that one. Obviously, without any sort of markings on how many lines this is, it's hard to determine exactly what it is. So when we draw these with cubes, it'll be a lot easier. But it gives you an idea of how these are often drawn. Okay. The second way of doing it is to start from the top and work your way down. Okay. So for that way, I'm going to start up at the top, and I'm going to draw my diamond for the very top figure. Okay, now I've drawn this piece right here. From there, as you can see, I go straight down. Now I've drawn that, and I can connect it, and I've drawn that whole top cube. Okay, from there, I'm going to work on these sides next. And then those connect back in. Now I've drawn that as well, and that as well. Okay, next, as you can see, it goes up and over. So up and over. Line down for the line down here, and repeating all these sides. As you can see now, all that's done. I've done this in here. I've done this right here and this right here. I need to make the diamond shape that you're seeing right there. Okay, and then from there, it's just drawing lines straight down. So 2 down here, over all the way to the edge. 2 down here, over all the way to the edge, and I have my shape that way too. Either one of these methods is fine to use. They both do the trick just fine. So attempt to draw this shape on the figure to the right. Okay, so don't worry if you had a little difficulty with it. Again, it's something that we're going to practice, and it takes a lot of practice to get good at this, but it is an introduction to isometric drawing. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is what we call orthographic view sketching. Okay, so what this basically means is there's multiple drawings to show sides in 2D, two-dimensional. So given this figure, this is an isometric drawing, even though it's drawn on graph paper. As you can see, we have a left, top, back, front, bottom, and right. So there's really 6 sides to choose from. The rule of thumb here, so if I were to draw all 6 of these out, as you can see, there's a lot of information. But you're probably also noticing that there's some duplicate information. Left and right look very similar, front and back look very similar, top and bottom look very similar, even though some of them have hidden lines and some of them don't. What we're going to focus on, and every time you do this, is the 3 sides that you see in the isometric. As you can see, the sides that we see are the front side, which is all of this you're seeing right here. Okay, all of that. Okay, you can also see the right side, which is right here and right here. Okay, and lastly, the top side, which is here and here. So the faces that we see in an orthographic view are front, right, and top. And if you combine those, that's every side that's there. So what we end up doing is we end up basically ignoring the other views. So we don't look at the back, we don't look at the left, and we don't look at the bottom. So your isometric drawing consists of those 3 right there. Notice that what I want you to notice here is that when we look at just that piece right there, the top is directly above the front, and the right is directly to the right, meaning they're actually like on a line with each other, straight up and down, straight up and down, straight up and down, straight over as well. Okay, every piece is lined up. That is one of the rules of an orthographic drawing. So that what that does is it helps the person get perspective. So you can kind of view all sides of it and put it together in your mind a little bit. So the last thing we're going to talk about after the orthographic view is how to select the best view for the front of a figure. Okay, meaning when you have a random shape, how do you choose what's the front? How do you choose what's the left? How do you choose what's the right, etc.? So first of all, the best shape and detail. So which view, if you look at it, gives you the best shape, best definition of the shape, and the best details. Second part, what's going to give you the longest dimensions? You want your front to be not a tiny little piece. So if you have a pencil, you wouldn't want the front to be looking straight on through the point and the eraser. So it's just a little circle. You would want that to be maybe the top view or the right view. You want it to be the longest view that you can see, longest dimensions. as few hidden lines as possible. So if there's a lot of hidden stuff going on the one side of it, you want that to be the front so you can see those lines. If you were to look at from the back, for example, you might not be able to see a lot of stuff. And this is a perfect example if I kind of sketch a really quick thing here. Just a really quick sketch. But as you can see, just looking at this right here, we would want this to be the front if possible, because that's going to show us all the lines. If we were to have back here be the front, all of this right here would be hidden, and you'd have to have a lot of dotted hidden lines. Your goal is to avoid those. And whatever the most natural position is. So if it's something that occurs in nature and you're sketching it, like for example a laptop computer, the front of it's going to be viewing the front of the laptop computer. It's not going to be an odd position upside down, from the corner. So looking at this figure right here, trying to follow these, which of these down below would be the most likely front? So to pause it for a second, take a look and see. Remember, you're looking at it just straight on from the front. Okay, so looking at it, remember, we want to see which one of these gives the best idea about its shape, which one has the longest dimension. So if we look at longest, we're automatically kind of crossing off this one and this one because those are not the longest for sure. Looking at this being our front, this one right here is going to be our correct answer. As you can see, it doesn't have any hidden lines drawn, whereas from the back we'd have a ton of hidden lines. If we took the view from the back, for example, we would have to have hidden lines here, 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 and even here. Those would all be hidden lines as well as that right there. So actually really all of these would be hidden lines. So you'd have so many dotted lines, it wouldn't be a good perspective. This view right here, number 3, is actually probably taken from the bottom, like that, okay? Because you're seeing the flat piece, but you're not seeing any of the details. So there'd have to be some hidden lines in here for it to be accurate, okay? This piece right here, okay, that view is taken probably from the top. If you look at it top down, you've got your triangle piece sloped, but it ends up just like a rectangle. You have this rectangular piece that's right here, and then you have the top view, which is right there. So as you can see, again, doesn't give you the definition, doesn't give you the ideas of the shape. From looking at this, I know I have an L-shaped piece. I couldn't really tell that this is a triangle, which is why we have a secondary view. When I look at it from this side, I would see that there's a slope there. Okay, and when I look at it from the top side, I would see other details as well, because I don't really know, based on this right now, I don't really know how far this is sticking out. But when I look at it from the top view, which is this view right here, that gives me that perspective that I need to see. And then this right here is my right view, which again shows me the slope right there. So hopefully this helped you just give a really quick overview of the difference between isometric and orthographic, as well as how you're going to pick and choose what your front view is.